Welcome into our Friday edition of our virtual happy hour presented by Bud Light Seltzer. I'm Julie Donaldson, and well, folks, we've come to the end. This is the very last virtual happy hour, so we're glad that you've been along with us for this training camp ride. We were saying it feels like it hasn't really ended, but look, this show will be done. We have a lot more exciting things coming for you as we do gear up for the regular season. I don't do these shows alone. I don't want to. Nobody should ever have to go alone. So I'm going to bring in our Washington football team insider, Zach Selby, to join me to close this one out. Zach, no pressure, but we have to go out with a big bang, okay?
Hey, we saved the best for last. I'm ready to roll. Let's talk some ball, Julie.
All right, throughout this entire thing, we've been bringing everybody along through the journey as we are going through a transition into a new era. There are so many exciting things to come. And now at FedEx Field, the new sign is going up that says Washington football established in 1932. It's exciting as we start our tab here to see the transition. We know sometimes it's a little bit difficult, but once you start seeing it come to life a little bit, Zach, it's pretty cool to see this.
Yeah, it really is. And, it's just another reminder that we are just on the doorstep of the 2020 season. It's really, really exciting for a lot of different reasons. Obviously you have, the new culture that Ron Rivera is building here in Washington. Then you also have the whole new rebranding phase that's going up to it. And just seeing that signage up there and even going to, name the streets after Joe Gibbs and Sean Taylor, it's just a reminder that we're here. We're literally just days away from kicking off the season against the Philadelphia Eagles. And I'm fired up for it. And just seeing those signs just made me fired up even more, to be honest with you.
Yeah, it's cool to see the burgundy gold still there, the name Washington, the name team. That's what we are getting behind, because that is what the new head coach, Ron Rivera, wants. He wants everybody to get behind the fact that this is one team going forward. Now, like, they call him Riverboat Ron for a reason as he comes in here, because he was really on the forefront of analytics. I think before it was like a trendy thing that every team started to follow. And he was gambling a little bit on fourth down, but he found that the analytics kind of backed it up. But it also, when you gamble, you have to have a little bit of instincts. And so, Ron Rivera talking about how he approaches analytics.
And one thing you got to be careful about analytics, there's a little bit of a saying that's figures lie and liars figure. You can find a stat to tell you whatever you want it to tell you. And a lot of people will point to those things. The truth of the matter is you really don't know. It's like people sit there and tell you, well, you get here and 8 times out of 10, you're going to convert. Okay, great. That's a great number, 8 times out of 10. But you decide to go for it, and you just happen to be that 2 out of 10. Now what? Are you guys going to excuse me and say, hey, coach, you know what? It was in the numbers. No, you can't go by just strictly purely analytics. This game is not just by the numbers. This game is played by humans. Decisions are made by humans. And when you start going with a cold, straight up numbers, that's hard. It's like, everybody sits there and goes, well, what are the analytics on a fake? When you run a fake punt, what's the analytics? When does it tell you to run a fake? Well, there really is nothing that tells you. Sometimes it's a field. The other team has got momentum back. They've closed to within 3. It's 4th and 3, and all of a sudden you call a fake on the punt and you get the first down. Everybody goes, oh, wow, what did the analytics tell you? The analytics didn't tell me anything. Okay, they had taken back the momentum. We only had a 3-point lead. We had 7 minutes left to go, and if we had punted the ball, there was a chance they could have scored. So you have to be careful when it comes to numbers. You have to really dive deep into those numbers. But you also have to pay attention to what you see and what you feel on the film and in practice. Believe me, I appreciate the numbers, I do, but I also take them with a grain of salt because, I've played this game, coached this game long enough to know that sometimes the numbers aren't always there. Just because you convert, 9 times out of 10 times, but you may be going up against the defense that converts 9 times out of 10. So it's a little bit of a crapshoot.
Riverboat Ron will take it. We like the gambles. We like that they've worked out in his favor more than not. And can probably expect that a little bit as we go forward, Zach. But kind of help us understand exactly what's going on with this whole gambling on fourth down, the analytics, and the gut.
Yeah, well, obviously we'll never really understand exactly what's going on in Ron Rivera's head. We can give a pretty good estimation of it. So just as an example, we're going to take a study that was done from the 2017 season through the first 6 games of the 2018 season. Of that time span, he went for it on fourth down 12 times from the 50 to the opponent's 25-yard line. Of those 12 attempts, he made it 7 times, which is over 50%, and he went 5-5 in those games. Now I know that 5-5 does not sound like a lot, but it does show you that Ron Rivera is willing to take the chances to win the games no matter what happens. And that gives me some comfort knowing that he's willing to gamble to do whatever it takes to come on the other side of the game victorious. And on top of that, in 2019, the Carolina Panthers were 50% on fourth down, which is 13th in the league, which is pretty good. And that's compared to Washington, which was 21st last year. So what we can tell from that is that Ron Rivera is going to bring his gambling mentality over here to Washington, and it can only mean good things for this offense and how this team wants to go about things.
When you factor in the personnel and the guys that will be out there and maybe the scheme and such, how do you see that kind of faring in the system and the players that they have now?
Well, I think it's going to work out a lot, and it really goes back into the versatility that this offense has. One of the best things you can have as a gambler is have all the options in your favor. And with the versatility that this offense has, you have Antonio Gibson, you have J.D. McKissick, you have Antonio Gandy-Golden, you have Terry McLaurin, and Dwayne Haskins leading all of that on top of that as well. So it feels good to know that you have such versatility and different options to go for on fourth down. So in terms of having the deck stacked for you, that the offense is definitely doing its part in that regard.
He is the head coach. It is his decision to go for it or not. And also, as we get up to cut down day, which is tomorrow, where they go to 53, it's his decision on who's going to make the roster. He made a very difficult one this morning, and today spoke about the decision to release Adrian Peterson. What did he say?
He honestly said that, look, it's not really about what this team, what Adrian Peterson couldn't do. It's about what these other players, these young running backs on the roster can do. And he said it was a tough decision. He said he woke up at 4 or 3 in the morning and just woke up and said, how do I tell this to Adrian Peterson, a first ballot Hall of Famer in his eyes. So it's a tough decision, but he wants to do things in the right thought process. He wants to make the right decision for this team, and as tough as it is, he feels like putting his faith and trust in these young running backs is the best option for this team going forward. And as tough as it is, AP will not be a part of that equation, and we're all going to miss him for sure.
He had major contributions on offense the last few seasons, was the offensive MVP 2 years ago. Last season probably could have been that as well. It's very difficult to part ways with a player that is so stand up, but Adrian's days with this team are done. We do wish him the best wherever his future does lead him. Of course, we know that also leads him to the Hall of Fame.